Yes. 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 My daughter's sleeping. My daughter's asleep in the other room, so I have to be somewhat quiet. Just a little bit quiet. And I'll probably get louder. What do you do? I'll have to tell her. I'll have to tell her when she wakes up, hey, what do you do? But this will be another one of those situations where if that door opens, if that door behind me opens, this thing's going off. This thing's turning off. Just off completely. Okay? So, that's the plan. The plan is for some touch-ups. Today's a touch-up day because I didn't finish my tattoo last week. So really it's just finishing a tattoo because I probably shouldn't even call it a touch-up. I probably shouldn't even call this a touch-up day because the tattoo wasn't finished at any point. So, it's really How to Train Your Dragon, the Lost Realms. It's like now we're on to the TV series, because there isn't a fourth movie. I don't really know what I'm supposed to do about that. But I'm calling it a touch-up day because as soon as Master Payne gets in here, I'm going to come in and give this one a little love. This 888 that I never finished. Because that's today. Today's 888. Because it's 88, and then 2022, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. Maybe I should have titled it the 888 stream instead of Tattoo Touch-Up, but what do? How do you achieve your goals when you don't even know what they are? Isn't that insightful? No, it's not. What would be insightful is if I had a good answer for how you can achieve your goals, even if you don't know what they are. You start by knowing what you want. Okay, there we go. That's insight. Now that's some insight. I'm gonna poke this dragon. We're gonna get this dragon going. Now, as you can see, I've got this dirty-ass needle. This thing's really gross. This is a really disgusting needle. But we're gonna work with it. We're gonna make it worthy. Ooh, it's slimy. It's covered in soap. So it's not technically... It's not technically dirty. It's soapy. But this paper was soft. It didn't even tear. It just sort of gave in to the pressure. Awkward. Oh, I don't have a spoon ready. What am I going to put my ink in right now? I thought I wasn't going to pull out the box today. I thought I don't need to pull out the box today because I have all my supplies on my desk. I was wrong. A spoon. And another spoon. Excuse me. It's almost grosser to burp and not be obnoxious about it. Right? It's almost more gross to have like a slight burp under your breath, like you're trying to cover it but you can't, than to just like project the burp. You know, you put your burps out there, you just sort of own it, and it goes a long way for your own perception of yourself. I don't know what other people think about the burps. It's hard to say. What I do know is that when I burp really loud for myself, it feels good. I've been farting all weekend. Just be glad I'm not holding the microphone up to my booty and farting. Because that would be really gross. We're just going to clean this spoon off. It's really dirty. It's really quite dirty. Like it's pretty gross. I really got to clean this box. But it's a soapy mess. So it's almost like I just have to wipe it up, and then the box cleaned itself. Like a woman's. Self-cleaning. Self-cleaning box. You're welcome, ladies. Gentlemen, don't talk about women that way. It's not right. I can only say that because I have a woman. And I'm not trying to get another one. But if you talk that way about a woman, if you reference her self-cleaning box, she'll never be yours. Now, once she is yours, pretty much say whatever you want. And then just apologize a lot. That's the move. Is it working for me? No. No, it's not. But will it work someday? I don't even know what that question means. If we're being honest, which we are. Classic, Courage the Cowardly Dog. You know when he says, if I blah blah blah, then my name's Maurice. And it's not. That's Courage the Cowardly Dog. That's a classic format that I will be carrying on into the future. For all the kids who never got to watch Courage the Cowardly Dog. You say something like, if we're being honest, and we are. Because whenever you say, if we're being honest, you're not really making it clear what you mean. Because who knows if you're being honest when you say, like, I love tattooing myself if we're being honest. Okay, are we being honest? And we are. And that's when you cover that. And you just cover that. Would you keep your truck quiet? My baby's trying to sleep. I got a window open. Because it's hot. Because it's summertime. I hope it's not summertime for much longer. I would really appreciate it if this whole summertime thing just ended. Just was done with. But that's not how it works. You know? You can't have a baby in a month by getting 9 women pregnant. You know, sometimes you just gotta wait for summer to be over. You just gotta be patient. Be prepared to weather the storm. I don't expect this to work. But I do expect me to work. And that's why we're here. And then we have rubbing alcohol too. I have now filled my spoons with rubbing alcohol. I've been told many times that this does not work. That this is not a good cleaning solution. So, if you're using rubbing alcohol to clean your tattoo supplies and you get an infection, send me a picture. I would love to see the pictures of all the infections that get caused by my advice. I would not love for you to get an infection. I would prefer that nobody gets infected. Especially scratchers. I mean, if you're not a scratcher and you're tattooing yourself, go get infected. As for all I care, I don't care. But if you're a scratcher and you get infected, I want to see it. So, post your pictures of your infections on scratcherspost.com, where we normally post pictures of our tattoos, but I would like to see your infections now. So I know that I'm doing the wrong thing, because I'm pretty sure I'm doing the wrong thing. I'm almost positive this is the wrong thing to do. But I need proof. I need a little proof before I can just stop. I'm not just going to stop doing something because it feels like the wrong thing to do before I have some proof. Okay, so this is a dirty needle. This needle is dirty as fuck. It was covered in soap, the packaging was soggy, and therefore germs made their way in. Now, any part of this needle that isn't covered in soap is covered in germs. I can guarantee that. Luckily, the only part of the needle we're going to put in our skin is the point. So we only have to clean the point. What's the point? You know. If you don't, turn off the stream. If you don't know what the point of a needle is, you don't belong here. That's just a fact. And an opinion. And see, the cadence of this show and the topics discussed completely changes when you're not here. And that's a good thing. That's how it should be. If I was saying all the same things, if this show was exactly the same when I start early and when there's nobody here, and if this soap bottle is broken and that's why I have soap all over my box, everything's going to make a lot more sense. But that's not the answer to the show question. If I said all the same things, it would be very confusing. Because then it'd be like, why am I here? If he carries on the same way and says all the same things when I'm not there, chatting, why should I show up? Good morning, Master Payne. We're early. That's how I'm doing. We're doing early. It's 8:88. Today's 8:88. And my soap is broken. It's not a good thing. You'd think it was a good thing for the punk rockness. For the show of here's how you handle a soap bottle that won't pump. If your soap bottle won't pump, you just take it out and you just rub it. Just give it a rub. Now you got some soap. No big deal. And then we do this. We go like this. And now it's on. Now we got some soapy water on there for the disinfection. This needle is dirty as hell. Just like my mind right now. Because I woke up at 3:40, I think. I woke up too early. You're waking up at a pretty reasonable time. I mean, it's morning time, which, many don't consider necessary. Are you drinking your caffeine? Because if you haven't had caffeine, then blank, depending on your relationship with caffeine. Who knows? Who knows if you should have some right now? I'm working on mine. Mine's getting on. Okay, so this needle is ready. Oh, boy. So many issues. So many problems in the world today. I'm going to touch up this one too today. Ye old 888. The old 666 turned 888. I don't want to bring attention to the fact that it used to be 666. Because it's not a good thing. I used to think it was cool. I used to think it was cool to do satanic imagery. But now I know better. So we just shifted it to 888, which is a greedy, apparently, imagery. Much better. Much better than direct Satan worship. It's just worship wealth. 888, good fortune. Sideways triple infinity. 888. Today's 888. That's why. I just thought I'd let you know, because I said it earlier, but who knows? Who knows what gets caught? Am I talking loud enough? Let me know if I should talk louder, because I won't do it, but I need to know if that's what's happening. But my daughter's sleeping right now, in the other room, so it's another one of those situations where I'm just doing the wrong thing. It's just all bad news. Who knew? Who knew it was going to be such bad news? So we're going to start with red, and we're going to get it over with, because I didn't finish it last week. So we're going to put some red in this dang spoon, in this gosh darn spoon, in this holy matrimony spoon, and we're going to start by poking that, and then that way when I move on to the black, I can use the same needle, and it'll overpower the red. Now this needle is not clean yet. Just because I wiped it on a soapy water paper towel does not make it clean. So we have another step we're going to take. We're going to do the simplest act of cleaning ever invented by God. Just a little rub. Just a little rub on fire. Yeah, smoking does the trick. Now, I may have a burnt needle, but metal doesn't do what nature products do when exposed to flame. It doesn't burn up. Now, it may be covered in a black, who knows what that's called when you put a fire to metal. But it is still metal, and it is still sharp. Now you can't even see it. Oh, it's because it's off screen, not because it's black. There's nothing wrong with that. I've even heard the real reason you're supposed to do this is to open up the needles. Apparently when you get one of these things hot, when you get this thing hot, the metal expands and it opens up the needles and it lets it hold slightly more ink. And it apparently creates cleaner lines. What did you do to that poor needle? Yeah, I fucked it up. We burnt it. We shurnt it. We schmurnt it. It's burned now. And that's just how it goes. Because it was covered in who knows what before I got to it. So we had to give it a little love. A little fire love. I don't know why it turns black. But I do know that once you turn a needle black, this is actually a pretty good rule for tattooing. It only applies to the needle. Once you go black, you don't go back. If you've ever dipped a needle in black ink, don't you fucking dare try to dip that needle in a different color ink ever again. Because you're just going to get a darker version of that color. I've never been able to make it work. You could put your needles in the dishwasher after you run some black ink on a needle, and it is still going to give you problems. It will always be a black needle. Okay, so now we're just going to poke some of this red. That's why this needle hasn't been in black ink yet. And we're going to do the red first, because once you go black, you don't go back. And I only have this needle right now. I need to order some more. But first I want to set up my Amazon shop so that when I buy needles from myself, I get a little kickback. I could use a kickback from Amazon. So I want to market, because on Amazon you can just put your name on a product, and then if anybody buys that one with your name on it, Amazon pretends that it's your product, and they give you a little extra cash back. So I'm going to make a little Stick and Poke King shop that I can buy from myself on, and that I can also recommend that anybody else buying tattoo supplies goes there to do that from. Seems legit, right? It is. It is legit. It's not unlegit. It's fully legit. That's what Jeff Bezos does. For the first 20 years of Amazon, everything was his. That's how he made his fortune. He just made everything on Amazon sound like it was his own stuff, even though it was other people's stuff that he was selling. Now he's a millionaire. Imagine that. So if I can just be the next Jeff Bezos, or even just the Jeff Bezos of Stick and Pokes, I think we could do pretty good. I won't even say that other people should buy their tattoo supplies from me. I will say that I would like them to. Why not? But I shouldn't be talking about that yet. First, we got to get it out there. First, we got to get them on the market, which I still haven't done. I have set up the account because I'm a greedy bastard. And remember, today's all about that greed. Okay, there's not as much red to do as I thought there was. There's only a little bit of red, but we're going to do it anyways. And then I'm going to pull out the single needle and get those tight corners. I'll see if I can get the tight corners right now without a single needle. This is bad red ink. Somebody said I'm supposed to be wiping the side of my needle on the cup. I don't believe it. They're like, you're supposed to use a tattoo ink cup because then you can wipe the side of your needle on it before you poke, and then you won't get as much of that residue. Now, might they be right? Sure. Sure, they might be right. But this isn't nail polish. We're not polishing nails here. We're tattooing. So I can't imagine that the same rules actually apply. It's ink. This isn't paint. This isn't polish. I don't know what I'm doing. I really want to make sure that this needle is clean before. I know I play hard. I know I like to make a show of being dirty. But that's just to make people feel better about, like, cleanliness in general. Because we should all be trying to be clean. But if you're not, it's going to be okay. Yeah, maybe an ink cup would technically be the better option. But the spoons sure are a vibe. And not everybody has ink cups. You know, even though, where are you getting your tattoo ink? Because if you're getting your tattoo ink from the internet, why wouldn't you get ink cups from the internet? That's a whole situation in itself. But it's not really about that, is it? It's about the vibe. And the spoons are indeed a vibe. I'm done with this red. Is that wrong? Am I being wrong? Possibly. It's possible. Maybe I should just keep poking this red until it's actually done. But I'm tired of this tattoo not being finished. I have a lot of paper towels here. Which one to use? There's no right answer. Somebody told me to get a stick and poke kit. And I'm just like, come on. You think I need a kit? I've got needles and ink. What else could I want? Apparently you're supposed to be using some sort of needle holder. Everybody wants you to attach your needle to something to hold it. But why would I do that when my hands hold the needle just fine? I can hold a needle with my hands. I don't need a popsicle stick or a piece of plastic with little tabs on it. We're going to wipe the red ink off of this needle. Not because we have to, but just out of personal preference. This is a personal preference move. You could dip a red ink needle into black ink, and it's going to come out black. Black is the strongest color. Yeah, you should use soap to wipe your tattoos. Soapy water. That's the move. But you can do whatever you want. You can wipe your tattoos with urine. And it's technically, the ink will come off of your skin the way that any wet surface will take ink off of your skin. Just don't dry wipe it. That's how you get uncomfort. Apparently dry wiping is a thing that causes problems. I can't imagine what exact problem it would cause, but I do know that my paper towels have a lot of spare fibers. There's a lot of loose ends on my paper towels. So I try to, if you get it wet, oh gosh, look at this. I guess I had some pressure build up in my ink. It splattered when I opened it. That's fun. That's good fun. You just rub that in. You just rub it all in. No big deal. We got the black going. My tummy is a rumbling this morning. I had something to eat / drink that is causing my tummy to give me some problems. I didn't wash my hands, so this is completely counteractive to all of the different cleanliness measures that I took for this tattoo. This is really stupid. Just like the show, though. Just like this whole show. This is just stupid. And that's the fun of it. It's fun it's like stunts. It's like doing a backflip on a motorcycle. Really stupid, but cool. You know, can't avoid being cool all the time. Sometimes you're just super cool, and there's nothing you can do about it. As long as you acknowledge, that's the main thing. Just try to be honest about whether or not that coolness is really a good thing. Jason's here. What up, Jason? Being dirty is cool, and being cool is bad. You just gotta get it straight. We're not saying it's good to be dirty. We're not saying that infections are a good thing. But if you have a tattoo infection, please send me pictures on scratcherspost.com. Your new source for all tattoo infection pictures. Please don't actually do that. But please do. I've never seen a tattoo infection in all my year of doing this, of telling people that they should be tattooing themselves. I still haven't seen somebody with an infection. I've seen people with messed up tats. And I've seen people with possible infections, like that could get infected, I've had people send me pictures where it's like, is this infected? And then I go, I don't know. Go to a doctor. You know, that's not my job. My job is to get you in the hospital through my practices. I'm not the one diagnosing whether or not you have an infection. That's not my job. My job is to get you the infection. JK. Please don't get infected. Not mine. If mine gets infected, that would be a good learning lesson. We could learn a lot from that. But I don't want anybody else's to get infected. We won't learn from that because nobody else is streaming their tattoos. So how would we know? Unless you go to scratcherspost.com and share. But yeah, I've had a lot of people go, hey, is this infected? And then it's my job to say, I don't know, go to the doctor. And then they do, and then they message me later saying, doctor said it's okay. So it keeps turning out okay. Even for the people who get messed up tattoos, they put damn ballpoint pen ink under their skin with a dirty needle. And then the doctor says, no, it's all good. That looks cool though. Nice tat. And that's how you know we're doing the right thing. Is when the doctors are saying, it's all good. Looks okay. Even on the worst ones. On the worst instances, yeah, I'll make a whole video about that. There's a lot of different proper ways to throw away needles. Fruit is only one. You can use vegetables. You can use tubers. You can put it in a water bottle. You could even rub it on the concrete. Just rub it on the concrete. And then it won't be sharp anymore. Yeah, maybe even take them to the hospital and say, hey, could I put these in your sharps container? And when they say no, when they say, get out of here, you damn scratcher, you say, do you want me to dispose of this biohazard waste improperly? And then they have to think, they have to go, well, I did take an oath that I would protect and serve, you know, against all germs, foreign and domestic. So maybe it is my duty to dispose of this scratcher's sharps. Maybe even go to a tattoo shop with your sharps and say, hey, you got a sharps bin? Can I just put these in here really quick? Maybe it would work. And if it doesn't, you just show them. You stick it in your avocado or your sweet potato and say, okay, I'm going to leave this outside then. Then what do? They got to do something. That would be funny. That would be a funny video. Hey, can you help me dispose of my sharps? No. Okay. I'm going to do it the wrong way then, and you're on record saying you won't help me out. And then I can catch their reaction maybe. You know. A good funny video always features strangers who are funnier than the host. You know, you get a good man on the street action, and you find out that your host isn't actually that funny. They're just really good at finding funny people. Hello, would you like to answer some questions for my YouTube channel? I'm not funny, so I need strangers to be funny for me. And I would rather talk to 100 strangers to get one funny second of video than just be funny myself. I throw my used needles on the playground at the elementary school. That's bad advice. But hilarious. A hilarious place to put your needles, especially if you can set up like a deer cam, like one of those hunting cameras where it turns on when it catches movement. You put a needle on the playground, you set up your hidden camera. That's a TV show. What will these kids do when they find a tattoo needle? It's not a drug needle. It's not that bad. You know, at least these kids aren't going to do heroin with my needles. Sure, they may give themselves a tattoo on accident with the residue ink. They might get a tattoo on the bottom of their foot or the palm of their hand, depending on how they land on it. But at least they won't be doing drugs. Those damn drugs. You ever seen needles on a playground? That shit is so depressing. Depressing is the wrong word. Seeing needles on the playground does not make me want to lay in bed all day. It makes me want to pick up needles. If anything, finding needles on a playground is invigorating. You know, maybe if I drop a few tattoo needles on a playground locally, I would actually notice that the parents are being more attentive to their kids. Maybe parents need to see their kids near danger to wake up a little bit. Hey, be more of a helicopter. There's needles out here. Wake up. Take care of your kids. Now, would I want my daughter finding a needle on the playground? No. Can I control whether or not my daughter finds needles in the kitchen or the bathroom or my desk? I don't think so. I could try. I haven't tried to stop my daughter from finding my tattoo needles all over the house. I don't really think about it that much. And if you don't know that's a joke, then I'm an idiot for even pretending that you can just say stuff like that and not have somebody think you're not joking. Doesn't it have to be funny to be a joke? That's what they'll say. That's always what people say. When you say something wrong, and then you're like, I'm just joking. They're like, oh, well, it's not that funny. It was a bad joke. Sorry you didn't like it. Yeah, I did go to the beach this weekend, and it was a wonderful, relaxing beach trip. My whole family was there, except for my older sister and her husband. They didn't make it because they're busy, and we missed them very much. We did a lot of missing of my older sister. But we still did our best to have fun. And we played on the beach, and we watched the first hour of the original Chronicles of Narnia movie, produced by the BBC, now available free on YouTube. And we went to Sharky's, the local gift shop, where there's a big shark around the doorway. There will be pictures on my Instagram soon, and then you'll know that this is true. And we had fun. And we made sandwiches, and we didn't do any drugs. I didn't bring any weed with me to the beach. For the first time in 2 decades. That's not true. I haven't been around long enough smoking weed to be able to say that. But it feels true. It feels like it's been 2 decades, but it's only been 1 decade. Not even that long. Wow, I'm glad I didn't waste more than a decade of my life on being high all the time. If you asked me 2 months ago, I wouldn't have even considered calling it a waste, using drugs all the time. Because I thought it was totally fine to just be high all the time. And it probably is. It's probably fine. I don't notice a difference. Now that I've been to the beach not high, it didn't feel very different from being high at the beach. I still remember it all the same, which is to say I don't remember much of it. You know, you just kind of zone out when you're hanging out with family sometimes. But I know it was a good time. I know that we all had fun, and that we got to go to the arcade with a bunch of kids. Kids are way more fun to go to an arcade with. You ever tried going to an arcade as an adult? It's really fun. But try going with kids. It's way more fun. Arcades are just great. We went to the arcade. That's another place, but there's no pictures from there. I don't have proof of that. So I didn't want to emphasize it too much. We almost got stuck on the beach driving around. So we had to get out and push, like the good old days. And I wasn't even high. There was no enhanced sensory input because of drug use. Maybe it would have been more fun if I was getting high all weekend. I can honestly say that it's possible it would have been more fun and more memorable. But there's no way to know because every trip is different. So maybe this was the one, maybe the last time I went to the beach when I was getting high would have been more fun if I wasn't. And maybe this trip to the beach would have been more fun if I was. I don't know. I'm just talking out my ass. You know what I haven't done since I stopped getting high is sit down and try to write some jokes. Is try to write new jokes. And that's something I'm going to have to try here soon. Because normally, writing just sucks. I just hate writing. I'm more of a math guy. So to sit down and try to write jokes, it's like kind of a pain in the butt. But you gotta do it. You gotta do it if you want new jokes. But I used to just get high, and that would help me with the boredom of writing. With how boring it is to just write. And now, when I sit down at my keyboard and try to start tapping away, I just get so bored. I'm like, man, I could really use some THC right now. And then instead of doing that, I just stop. I'm like, I'm not going to write any jokes. I'll get to that later. Procrastination. Hopefully that's something I can get my control on. That's something I'd really like to get control on, is procrastination. I mean, if I'm not procrastinating tattoos, could I not procrastinate something else? Is there anything else I could stop procrastinating? If I can sit down and tattoo myself every morning, why can't I sit down and do... I mean, this is painful. It's painful. And a little boring. It's nice that I get to talk and that there's people listening. But it's not exactly, I don't know. I mean, this is the most fun thing. I don't even know why I was going to pretend that this is the equivalent of writing. And that if I can do this not high, that I should be able... I mean, that's a stupid idea to even consider. But I think there's some parallels. I'm stabbing myself with a needle. You'd think you would want to be high for something like this. And yet here we are. It's totally possible to poke yourself with needles without drugs. It's an option. And it's good to have options. Because for the longest time, it felt like I didn't have any options. It felt like my only option was to do everything high. Like Seth Rogen in Pineapple Express. Like, everything's better when you're high. You know what isn't better when you're high? Being sober. Being sober when you're getting high is so boring. Oh my God. It's like hell. If you're getting high, being sober is like your worst nightmare. And that's tricky because you wake up sober every morning. And there's nothing you can do about that unless you're on an IV. So, to just wake up in hell every day, because I'm not high yet, is a bit of a drag. And the only solution to that is, you know what? I'm not going to say quitting doing drugs is the answer, but it is the solution to how boring being sober is. Because if you can get a hold on it, and you can make sober being fun, if you can make being sober fun, it brings, I think, the trick is that brings a whole new level to getting high. I smoked a joint with a friend outside of a comedy club. What was I doing there? Don't worry about it. And I took a puff off of his joint, and it was a wild experience. I was like, oh my God, I'm so high. I haven't said, oh my God, I'm so high, since I started getting high. Unless you switch up the drugs. Also, there's so many different drugs out there that if you get bored of one, you could always just use another one. And then that one is, it's a lot. I wake up feeling high, and when I'm sober, I feel high. LOL, I feel good when I don't smoke. Well, that's good. That's good. I guess we're just different. Maybe I'm not like everybody. Yeah, it would bum me out to not be able to get high. If I had a day where I was like not able to smoke for whatever reason, that would like get in my way. Drugs are bad. I hear ya. I mean, bad is a strong word because they help people. There's proper ways to use drugs. Like, if you want to make a fool of yourself and make everybody mad at you, try cocaine and alcohol. If you're trying to forget about how horrible your life is and just think that everything is perfect, try some ecstasy. Or LSD. Also, if you want to see demons, LSD, great option. Mushrooms, demons, perfection. There's a lot of options, depending on what you want. But if you want to be sober, drugs are bad. Drugs are the last thing you need if you want to be sober. If you're responsible for somebody else's life, drugs might not be the best option. Now, Master Payne, I know what I told you about this wing and the shading, but I'm beginning to realize that the attention span that I would need to properly shade this wing to look like it's shaded and like a wing, I don't have that type of attention span. And as I'm poking this, I'm realizing the wing doesn't look so bad. If it was just one flat color, it'll be okay. Because if this wing was bigger, if I had a bigger wing on this dragon, you would really not want it to be flat. Because it would be like this big empty black space, and you would barely be able to tell that it's supposed to be a wing. But now I'm looking at it, it's not so big that you need emphasis points to make it look like a wing. You can tell what that is. I've lost family members because they used coke and were angry all the time, so they are not part of my life anymore. That sucks. That really sucks. Yeah, some people think coke is great. You know, until you ask a few questions about it. And then you're like, what's so great about it? And they're like, it makes you feel good. And it's like, oh, well then why don't you do it all the time? It's because it's like, oh, because it makes you feel really bad. Oh. And it costs a lot of money. Oh. So there's a balance there. You know? Now, in the moments when you're on coke, is it the best thing ever? Yeah. I bet it is. I literally feel lucky. I'm actually quite glad that I don't know, and that I don't know what meth feels like, or heroin or coke, because everybody says that they're the best thing ever. You're not the lone stoner. We all love being stoned, Jason. I'm just in a phase. I'm just going through a phase. I'm still a stoner at heart, because it's still... I mean, look, there's like you get the empathy, and you get the perspective, and you get the high, and it's all really nice. Lately for me, it's mostly an expensiveness issue, and also a pregnant wife issue. Now, could I let my wife be getting high while she's pregnant? Sure. Probably fine. It's probably fine. You know, I really think weed is probably fine. But ever since I saw that South Park episode where Randy throws all his weed away and goes back to science, yeah, Master Payne's getting stoned all the time. You two are just stoners in a bucket. That's a good thing. Don't call it a bad thing. Of all the drugs, that green weed, it's not even brown like tobacco. That sticky, icky tobacco, it makes your lungs all black and sticky. That's a beautiful drug too, let's be honest. Nicotine is amazing. Nicotine is great. But it's another one of those, it's only great when you're using it thing. And then as soon as you stop using it, you're like, You're fasting. Are you doing it right now? I like intermittent fasting for weed, where where 3 days a week I don't smoke weed for 10 hours. What if you did that? What if you were like, I do intermittent fasting for weed, so I only smoke during a 12-hour period of the day? It'd be like, you mean all day? Okay. I was gonna say, I thought you were just saying, okay. But sometimes you fast. Sometimes you take little weed breaks. Weed breaks are good. They're difficult because if you have weed in the house, you're like, oh, I'm smoking this. Oh, I am smoking the fuck out of this. But if you just don't have any in the house, it's actually pretty easy to put down. That's the thing I like about weed, is that when you decide you don't want to smoke it, you don't have to like make it through days of hell to get to the other side. 30 days tolerance break that's the good number. That's the amount that you want to do. Because then when you come out of it, you just get blasted. And there's nothing more fun than getting blasted on weed. But there is, it's nice because even with tolerance, weed still feels great. You still get really high, and you still regret smoking too much. You can still smoke too much even if you have a high tolerance. Oh wait, did you catch that? That's been me all weekend. I've been tooting all weekend, and my sister has been just telling me all about how that's what I used to do all the time. My sister reminded me of the funniest thing that I used to do growing up. I have a twin sister, and we just butt heads a lot growing up. And one of my favorite things to do when we were butting heads was I would walk over to her on the couch, and there would be the remote on the floor, and I would bend over to pick up the remote, and then I would just rip one right in her face. That shit's funny. Like, if you just fart in somebody's face and they don't see it coming, like, in their face, that is funny as fuck. I shouldn't be laughing at that, because it's not that funny to talk about. It's not that funny to just say, I farted in her face, but I am imagining it from back in the day, because I forgot that I used to do that all the time. I used to just fart in her face, and it was like some of my favorite memories. Was just bending over in front of my sister and just letting one rip. You know what's really funny is calling farting letting one rip. That's just a good time. Farts are just funny. And then they stink. You know what's even funnier though is when somebody thinks farting is super offensive. When you fart and somebody's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you just did that." They're like, "Did you just fart?" That is so disrespectful. They're like, there's poop particles in there. You can spread disease by doing that. And it's like, oh my god, you're a pussy. This is great. This is great news. And I don't mean pussy like a vagina. Because vaginas don't mind farting. They do it all the time. I'm talking cats. If you run away when somebody farts, you're a pussy. And it's not because you're like a woman's body part. It has nothing to do with that. I'm calling you a cat. Because when I fart on my cats, they run away too. People just take things too not literally. Did you know I've talked about it, but I'm going to say it for the rest of my life. If I call you a pussy, I'm not calling you a vagina, you sicko. I'm calling you a cat. Anyways. I hear movement behind me, so I'm ready to turn this stream off at any minute. At a moment's notice, we could just turn this thing right off. So my daughter doesn't know what I'd like to do for a living. She doesn't need to know. There's no reason for her to know what I've been up to. I mean, she knows. And she will know someday. And then she'll look back and realize what was happening the whole time. That's the weird thing about kids. You can hide shit from them all you want. But when they grow up, they're going to realize everything that was going on. And why you were acting so strange. Hiding shit. And then they're going to have questions. I'm ready for the questions. What I'm not ready for is if when I realized that doing this is likely going to encourage deviant behavior from my daughter. When I realized that, I'm scared. Because anything that happens, anything that she does that might be considered like negative or not Christian or wrong or bad or unhealthy, I'll be like, hey, you shouldn't do that. And then she'll be like, well, you tattoo yourself every day. And then I just have to shrug. And I have to be like, shit, that's a good point. So that makes me nervous. Because I'm not setting a good example. And that's just a fact. People could say, no, it's fine. It's just tattooing. But it's not. It's its whole own, excuse the shift. It's its whole own thing. I'm going to get off here before it's too late. Now I'm thinking too much. And I like that Master Payne is saying he's leaving. And I like seeing people say later. So I'm gonna take advantage of this little finished moment. I mean, obviously in the future, we're gonna have to come back because look, this thing is not done yet. This thing is nowhere near done yet. Not even close. But it isn't white anymore. So that's a nice thing. I didn't even get to do the 888 tattoo. Should I do that really quick? Let's do that really quick. Let's do some 888. Because that's today. Today's 888. I don't know if anybody missed that. I hope Master P didn't bounce already. Because this is his tattoo. This is 2 of his tattoos. I'm staying till it ends. Just get the goodbyes in. I like your style. Maybe I'm premature. Anybody else got a premature problem? I don't want to say the second word in that phrase. But I can't be the only one who's just always premature. There's ways around it. There's ways to solve the problem. Look at that. Oh my god. Spotting. Drenched. That's a problem. That's a stress disorder. That's a medical issue that I couldn't apply to other things that I do wrong. Okay, I'm glad the dragon's cool. Let's get to this little 888, because look, it's not even close to finished. Look how faded. You can tell the difference between the 6 and the 8, where it starts and stops. So let's give it a little love. So we know that this is not a 666 tattoo. So we know that this is in fact a tattoo for good fortune. Today's your day, Master Payne. How about that? Everybody, my mom told me this, so I'm gonna do it today. But Master Payne in particular. Today is the Lions Gate Portal Day, apparently, 8/8. Comes every year. But I pointed out to her that today's actually a very special Lions Gate portal because 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And this was your idea. And same with the dragon tattoo. So let's say that this message is in particular for you. Today is the day where we can all connect with a higher version of ourselves, a future version of ourselves. So my mom said, yesterday she told me, tomorrow, have a discussion with yourself a year from now. Close your eyes and imagine yourself where you'd like to be in 1 year and ask yourself some questions. And then tell yourself, as yourself, from the future, yeah, it's going to be okay. You got this. You're going to get there. I'm here. Just tell yourself, I'm a year in the future and I'm here. I'm where I want to be. And you will be there with me too in the future. You know what I mean? She's really good at explaining it and making it seem true, but I think you hear what I'm saying. And we can all do that. It's all within our power to join ourselves in the future as a better version. And that's cool. And that's cool in the way that we all wish the word cool meant. Now, this is supposed to be a brown tattoo, I'm realizing. So it's going to be pretty distinct difference between the 8 and the 6. That's okay, because the 8 is more important, so we're going to make it bolder. But yeah. So I'm going to picture myself, when I get off this stream, I'm going to close my eyes, and I'm going to picture myself a year from now, covered in tats. Just completely covered in tats. I'm going to be like, hey, did I make it? And then I'll tell myself, yeah, you're going to make it. You just keep going. You're on the right path. I'm going to have a new baby. 1 year from now, I'm going to have a little baby crawling around. I'm going to have to lock up my needles. Because that baby's going to be a little rambunctious twerp. And I need to be prepared for that. And I'm nervous, but then I'm going to tell myself from the future, no need to be nervous. You figure it out. You get all the steps together and you make it work. So don't worry about it, just keep going. You just keep going on your path, and you'll get here where I am in the future. You know what I mean? You don't have to tell me you know what I mean, because I know you do. I know you get it. This is going to be dope. I'm glad that I did 8s instead of... You know what else I could have done with these 6s? Is just put lines under them, put a line under it, and made it 9s. But 999 doesn't even mean anything. So what would be the point of that? Let's be honest. And some pokes over here. My mom didn't even know that I had an 888 tattoo when she told me. And she didn't even know that I was going to be touching up my dragon tattoo recommended by the same person as my 888 tattoo on 888. You know? That's just how magic works. That's just how we get here. Every day, we're brought here to where we're at in the moment by magic. That's how we always get to where we're at and where we're going. Yeah, I've had a lot of voodoo donuts. They're not as good as everybody wants you to think. It's basically just donuts. They just sell donuts. Now, are some of the flavors kitschy and interesting? Sure. And in the 90s, that was very exciting. Because nothing was interesting in the 90s. Everything was normal. But now, every voodoo shop, every donut shop, look, everything is called voodoo now too. Every donut shop knows what voodoo did, and they're copying them. So now you can go to any donut shop in the continental United States, and you will find yourself a kitschy, weird flavored donut, or a weird shaped donut. Even Krispy Kreme. Fucking Krispy Kreme is putting bacon on their donuts now. I don't even know if that's true. I'm just saying it. But I bet it's true. Even Dunkin' Donuts is putting crumbled up Oreos on their donuts. It's nothing special. My coffee maker's beeping. I finished the 8s. I've now torn apart a Portland institution. That's everything I needed to do today. You should visit Portland, and it is intriguing, but I just can't stand it. I am so sick of it. I thought it was so cool, and so I moved there from Vancouver, Washington. I grew up 20 minutes from Portland my whole life. And I always thought Portland is one hell of a place. That is so cool. I want to live there someday. And then I moved there, and then I moved in more, in with a girlfriend downtown. Now she's my wife. And Portland sucks. It's just a bunch of dirty kids getting their rocks off, which is fun to some people. Watching people get their rocks off is fun, if you're into that kind of thing. But I've never really been into that kind of thing. I've always thought it would be cool to get into it. I've always thought acting like a teenager and doing drugs and acting like it's normal to lick butts. Everybody in Portland eats ass. Not as good as it sounds. Not nearly as good as it sounds. But yeah, worth visiting, walking around. I mean, there's a lot of homeless people on the streets now, so maybe wait a decade. It would have been really cool to visit in 2019. I would say 2018 was a really good time to visit Portland. But now everybody's either homeless or wearing a mask or eating ass. And it's a real embarrassment. I'm going to be honest. And then I'm just walking around being a normal guy. Oh, San Diego. And then now you live in bumfuck Connecticut. That's fair. You just want a little taste of what used to be. Yeah. If you're from San Diego and now you live around a bunch of dorks in Connecticut, I could see why Portland would be a place to go and get refreshed on why you moved away. Because you did move. Remember, you moved for a reason. And maybe it wasn't your choice, and now I'm sorry for bringing it up. But everybody in Portland just thinks they're better than you, like me, like how I think I'm better than everybody. Everybody in Portland thinks they're better than me. Imagine that. Is it even possible? Maybe I'm extrapolating too much. Maybe I'm assuming, and maybe I haven't met everybody. There's a lot of people in Portland. Most people in Portland would say the same thing I'm saying right now. They would say, yeah, I thought Portland was going to be cool, but here we are. And those people I would probably get along with really well, and maybe I should consider reconsidering Portland people. Not everybody from Portland is from California. You know, some people here are from here. Those people are dope. The people from here are all anarchist types. I am not humble. I act humble because it's the right thing to do, but I know for a fact I'm the goddamn best tattoo artist, best comedian, best mom, best dad, best son, best chef. I'm the best at everything, including being humble, you know? The universe likes the universe. There I go again, acting like I don't believe in God. Apparently God likes when you say things like, I suck. And when you say, I'm the worst, God is like, that guy's cool. So that's why I do it. If I'm being honest, I do it because that's what they like. That's what the ultimate crowd, the ultimate audience likes to see, is a little bit of humbleness. So outwardly, that's what I do. But in my head, I try to think humble. I force myself, when I catch myself thinking I'm the best, I go, let's think about this and just go, I'm the worst, I'm the worst, I'm the worst. You know? I gotta make myself do that, or else you get too out of line. Anyways, I'm done for the day. Thanks, Jason. That was actually I'm glad we got to talk about Portland a little bit, because that is a fun topic. And it is something I'm very familiar with. Anyways, lots of love, lots of pokes, lots of ink and soap, lots of streams, lots of light, lots of humbleness, lots of donuts. I hope everybody has a donut within the next month. And let's catch up on September 8th and see if anybody had donuts. And we'll catch up every day between now and then. But until then, I'm not going to bring up donuts again, unless I change my mind.